this video, I went fishing in Alaska for the most prized fish. So without further ado, let's go experience what it's like to go fishing in Alaska. We started our morning with a 4:30 a.m. wake-up call in Ketchikan, Alaska. And here's the crazy part. At 4:30 a.m. it's already light outside. This felt so strange. After stepping off the ship, we boarded our fishing boat ready to chase one of Alaska's most prized fish. This was just the beginning of an unforgettable fishing day with my family. Our charter guide's fishing spots were about an hour away from the dock, and let me tell you, the scenery in Alaska is something else. The mountains, the water, the nature, it all felt unreal. And on our way there, we were lucky enough to spot a pod of whales. It was absolutely incredible. That's definitely not something we're used to seeing back in Florida. We finally got to our spot and started defrosting the bait. Once it was ready, our captain Reggie began cutting it into thirds. The setup we were using was no joke. We were using a 140-pound rope tied to a sinker with the bait attached. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it before, and it was pretty cool to watch such a heavy-duty rig work without spooking the fish. Our captain positioned the boat perfectly into the current and anchored us in place. It's crazy how important the current is when it comes to getting these halibut to bite. It's like the secret ingredient to success out in Alaska. Once everything was set, we made our first drop down to the bottom. With 5 rods in the water, we were ready to see what this spot had to offer for us. About 5 minutes after dropping, my brother Hunter hooked up, and this fish felt solid. He started cranking slowly, working it up from the bottom. We were fishing in about 200 feet of water, so it took some time and effort to bring these fish to the surface. While my brother was cranking, we looked over and saw that our mom had hooked up with a fish too. She jumped right into the fight, and honestly, fishing as a family always makes these trips so much more special. As she got our fish in the boat, we were able to flip this fish in the boat and land this weird looking sculpin. Definitely was a cool looking fish. After landing that sculpin, my brother Hunter finally got his fish near the boat. We looked down and we saw a shark. We were able to land this shark, but to be honest with you guys, I'm not 100% sure what kind of shark this was. We were able to successfully release this shark back into the water, and about 20 minutes later, just as we were getting back to fishing, my brother Austin got the hit we've been waiting for. This one felt like the fish we were targeting. This fish was fighting incredibly hard, so my brother Austin took it nice and slow, carefully working it up. Around this time, the current really started moving, and when I tell you the bite turned on, it was absolute chaos. Every rod seemed ready to go, but as Austin kept cranking, the captain saw the head shakes on this fish and immediately knew it was a target fish we came all this way for. So we're now about 5 minutes into this fight, and let me tell you, halibut are some of the hardest fighting fish out there. It's crazy how strong they are, and in Alaska, these halibut can get massive, up to 500 pounds. Can you imagine how long a fight like that would take? Another great thing about these halibut is that they are great eating fish. We were able to eat some fresh halibut while we were in Alaska, and let me tell you, it was some of the best fish I have ever had. After about 10 minutes of fighting, we finally had this fish right under the boat. And when we looked down, we saw it. This was the fish we've come all this way for, an Alaskan halibut. Our captain was great with the gaff, and we were able to successfully land our very first Alaskan halibut. The feeling of finally landing this fish was incredible. Next thing you know, my little brother Maverick was hooked up. Now, by no means was that halibut a giant, but it's definitely a fish we can now mark off our bucket list. Maverick started fighting his fish, and right away we could tell it wasn't going to put up the same fight as the halibut. We knew he had something different. Maverick was able to fast reel this fish, and honestly, we were all excited to see what he had caught. And like I told you guys earlier in this video, once that current picked up out here, it was bite after bite, and we knew we were in for something special today. He was now about 3 minutes into this fight, and let me tell you, the hardest part about reeling was how far we had to drop down. We were fishing in extremely deep water, about 250 feet of water, so if you had a good sized fish on the line, it meant a long, intense fight to get this fish to the surface. My little brother finally had his fish right under the boat. The captain came over, took a quick look down, and we saw the color. It was a cod. Honestly, I didn't expect to catch a cod today, but it was an awesome surprise. Maverick successfully landed his first ever cod. But before we could even catch our breath, I was hooked up, and this one felt like a hard fighting fish, and I could tell you it was going to be another epic battle. I started fighting my fish, and right away it felt like we had the right species again. As you can see, the rain started pouring and the seas picked up, but when you're in the middle of all this action, you honestly don't even notice anything. It was non-stop action. Now about 5 minutes into this fight, my hands were starting to go numb from how cold it was, but we knew we were getting close. This fish was almost at the boat. The captain came over with his gaff in hand, ready to stick this fish. We looked down and there it was, the fish we have been chasing, another Alaskan halibut. The captain made a perfect gaff shot and we successfully landed my first ever Alaskan halibut. After making a few more drops, we managed to land a couple more halibut and cod. But at this point, we were ready to call it a day. We made our way back to the dock. We hope you guys enjoyed this family fishing adventure, and we can't wait to see you in the next Barjack's Family Fishing video.